Okay, let's see what's in the roller cabinet. Some neat stuff here. Got a bunch of blades here so I can cut things up. The judge has told me I'm now allowed to have sharp instruments again. Tape measure. These are kind of neat here. These are things you'd put in a gas can and they would soak up any water. That's what these are. Kind of neat anyway. The original price was $12.99. Still has a price sticker on it to give you an idea from Home Hardware. Old staple gun. Staples. Oh, this is a line bender for brake lines and so on. That's what this is. You have to make a line curve to go up over your axle or whatever, or to go around, and and this is what you use. That's a cigarette lighter socket. There's your positive wire and your ground. Those wires actually look too thin. Plus, I think that's aluminum. I wouldn't use those for a cigarette lighter. They're too thin and they're aluminum. But that's what that is, though. It's a cigarette lighter socket. Wire stripper. Bunch of old syringes, because you just never know when you're going to have to give somebody a needle. Actually, what I use these for is I use them for oiling things up, and also for shooting alcohol into things, to clean things like dusty potentiometers and old radios and things. I would use these. Volume control, that you do that. You turn it and you get snap, crackle, pop as you turned it. That was because dust had gotten into it. You get 99.9% rubbing alcohol. You shoot this up into the thing. You work it back and forth. You don't do this with the power on. You unplug it, but you work it back and forth, and then work the knob back and forth and let it sit for a while, and then when you go to use it again, it'll be clear as anything. I always keep the plunger back, because otherwise the plunger will get the little stick to the end of the barrel of the syringe. Anyway, dashboard mounted ignition switch for a Dodge, for an old 60s Dodge. There's a car key there too. That'll be to some old car I had, but I don't know what. I couldn't tell you what car it would be to now, and I'm sure I don't have it anymore. But anyway, it was a key that I used to start something at some point in my life. It looks like a General Motors key. General Motors keys in the 40s and 50s and 60s had this shape to them. Their ignition keys. Well, in the 50s and 60s they did, and I'm not too sure about the 40s, but in the 50s and 60s they had this shape to them. It'll be to some old car I had at one time. There's a brake flaring tool. That's what that is, for brake lines and transmission lines and stuff, to put the flare on the end of it so the fitting doesn't slide off. To keep the fitting in place. It basically makes the line go out flares it out on the end. I can't really show you, but I can't explain it, but you have to trust me. That's what it was for. Anyway, if you ever saw a flared line, you know what I mean. There's an old set of torches, old welding torches. Haven't been used in a long time. What's in here now? We got a heat gun. We got some extension cords. There's a tool, I believe, for brake springs, I think. Not sure exactly, but I think so. There's hole cutting saws. There's an oil filter wrench. Goes on the end of the oil filter. It's adjustable. Good tire gauge. And this is an old hairdryer that I use when I had to heat things up for some reason. If I had to shrink plastic or anything like that, like shrinkable plastic and stuff, I'd use this. Yeah. Now, let's go down here and see what we got. It's an old hairdryer. Yeah. It's from even before I went bald. So, there's an angle grinder. I absolutely hate angle grinders. I very seldom use them because I find them hard to use. A router and a palm sander. That's about all that's in here. Yeah. Angle grinders are pretty tough things to use. These wheels I'm going to keep. They're actually brand new, so I'm going to keep them. Brand new, eh? Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. There's another little adventurous tour for you. Oh, wait a minute. Safety glasses. Yeah. These are from when I worked at Central Wire, the wire factory. These are, wait a minute, no, these are welder's glasses. These aren't from when I worked at Central Wire because I didn't weld at Central Wire. I still have a pair somewhere from when I worked at Central Wire, though, a long time ago. Automotive fuses, or blade fuses, and these ones here are glass fuses. I don't want to open it up, but you'll see there's what they look like, glass fuses. These are quite old. Hard to get now. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. All right, we'll talk to y'all later.